Hello, and this is the Week 3 Wiki video presentation by Stephen Glassner for EDUU 677. This particular topic has to do with either an observation or watching a YouTube video on using communication evidence-based practices. So for this one, I watched a YouTube video entitled How To, Intro to Functional Communication. This was a video created by Virginia Commonwealth University Autism Center and published by their Rehabilitation Research and Training Center, and it published on their YouTube page. So according to the video, functional communication is 4 things: getting help for what we need, asking for help, advocating for ourselves and saying no, and expressing our feelings and emotions. And I would generally agree with that. If you had to ask me what functional communication is, I would probably come up with something similar in meaning. And certainly that's one of the reasons why I chose functional communication, because of just how important it is. So what can it look like? Well, according to the video, functional communication training can be verbal. It can be use of a PEC system, AAC devices, sign language, other forms of communication such as facial expressions or body language, or it can be multimodal combined methods. So for instance, I have students who use an AAC device but will also speak in very short phrases. According to the video, why is communication important? They list 4 reasons, or it can be summarized into 4 reasons. They listed a bit more, but basically, communication is a foundational and human skill, which is something I think we can agree with. It impacts success in life. Right of every student to communicate their wants and needs. They list that as a reason. And then reduces interfering behavior. Certainly that is true for special education teachers who work with students on the spectrum, including in my own classroom. According to the video, how communication is taught should be based upon the following, essentially. The strengths of the students, so you want to play to their strengths. Making sure that it's accessible. Being able to get the students what they want or need. So in other words, the primary focus on what the student should be able to communicate is, a want or a need of theirs. That's probably the most important function someone can have in terms of communication, so that would make sense. They also said that you want to support how it's being taught by planning, instruction, practice, and reinforcement. As with anything that's being taught to a student, to any student, that's a good approach. And then make sure skills are generalized. So you want to practice those in different contexts, such as classroom, home, school, playground. Should be practiced in a variety of areas. So it's not just a thing you work on at school or a thing you work on with a speech therapist. So there were a few videos within the video that showed teachers teaching students on the spectrum different functional communication methods. So in video 1, we had a teacher prompt a student to use visual supports to make a choice between preferred activities. So they used a PEC system in this one, as well as practice using verbal speech. Prompts used, visual, there's gestural, and there was verbal as well. And so the student chose between different options on his PEX board, and by doing that, he was reinforced with the activity that he chose, which was bubbles. So he said he wanted bubbles, but he also chose using his PEX board. Video observation 2 is where a non-autistic student models sharing by sharing a paintbrush with an autistic student. And in return, the autistic student actually gave the non-autistic student a card. So some methods used include naturalistic intervention, so it was done and it wasn't just some sort of structured program or structured activity. There is PEX being used because it was a PEX card that he gave to indicate sharing or paintbrush. Peer-mediated instruction and intervention. Obviously, that's a part of what this is, although in the video they called it peer-to-peer communication. And visual support. The prompts, there was only about one prompt and one verbal prompt. The teacher mostly stayed out of the interaction. And reinforcers were used. Well, the student received the paintbrush, which is what he wanted. They showed some other video examples as well, 5 to be exact, back to back to back to back to back. So I put it all in one slide. Some of the methods they used when they were using FCT this time included prompting, modeling, PEX, structured playgroup, and reinforcement. And then some of the prompts that were used were gestural, physical, and verbal. The skills that were practiced due to FCT in order. There was a student asking for glue, a student practicing to ask for food and drink, one student using it to express their feelings, one using it to ask for more please, and one where the student was rewarded for having a good day and waiting in line. Some reinforcers that were used for each one. Well, the student that asked for glue got the glue. The student asking for the food and drink got chips and a cup with something in it. The first student expressing their feelings actually got verbal praise. The student asking for more please received more of a requested toy, and the student having a good day and waiting in line received a piece of candy, along with the other students in the class. Some final observations. While prompts were used, most teachers appeared to keep the number of prompts they used to a minimum. Sometimes there were multiple prompts, but the teachers appeared to only use them when absolutely necessary to make sure the student was being independent and not prompt dependent. FCT can work with a wide variety of other evidence-based practices, as I've shown in this video, and as the video showed itself, the one that I'm talking about now. It can be practical and emphasize the wants and needs of the students first. And FCT can be used to teach a variety of skills in my own classroom. So this is one of the reasons why I'm using this video, because I know it's worked in the past with some students, and whenever we're able to return full-time, I know that I want to use it for other students. And some of those skills that I can use them for include being able to have students asked to use the bathroom, making sure that they using functional communication to state that they need a break and where they would like to take that break. So some students like to go to the break room, others like to go to a sensory room or outside. They can also use it in my room to ask for change of clothes, go into the bathroom and change their clothes, and then they can also use it to ask for help on a classroom assignment whenever they're struggling, instead of simply sitting there and waiting for the teacher to do something, or doing something completely different. So that is the end of my presentation. Here is the video information which the presentation was based upon. And thank you very much.